I'm good, I think. There's no clicker, is there? We don't have,
No,
yeah, that's all right. That's okay. I'll survive. I'll manage. Anybody with any aspirin?
Find you some.
Could you please? That would be great.
Aspirin's fine though?
Aspirin, whatever they kind of have. Morphine drip, anything. IV drip.
3 minutes.
Take the time. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
If there's anything else you need, let me know.
I think I'm good, thanks.
Well, yeah, that's going to be another interesting
Got a dorky little sign. It's going to be kind of low. It's a 5 and a 10 minute warning, right?
Hey everyone, if I can get your attention, this is 11 o'clock in here in the red team room, and I'm very pleased and very happy to be able to introduce David Hughes, who's going to be giving you a talk on the techie side of social engineering. This is not the talk you thought you were listening to. Now's a good time to leave. Mr. Hughes is basically he's been obviously stable here at LASCON. He's been in the IT security industry, for many years, and he basically works right now as a senior security analyst for Temple Inland, and he teaches CISSP class dealing with security architecture and encryption. And if you'd all give a big hand, so you can give a talk.
Okay, first of all, disclaimer. I think it's unprofessional for somebody to stand up and say, this is why my talk is going to suck, because I'm really tired, I'm sleep deprived. It's not going to suck for that reason, I'm sure. But I am a little tired, so I'm a little... This thing, hear me? Good? Okay. No, I'm kidding, of course. I want to follow James's Wickett's example by opening with a joke. Because if you don't like to talk, maybe you like the joke. If you hate the joke, I'm in big trouble. So 3 guys are sentenced to die at the guillotine. There is a lawyer, a priest, and an engineer. Well, the lawyer goes up to the guillotine, and the guy says, how do you want to die? Do you want to lean back looking up or look down? Actually, it was the priest first. And he says, I want to look toward heaven when I die. So he leaned back and looked up. The blade came down, stopped an inch from his neck. And they said, well, divine intervention. He's free. Let him go. The lawyer comes up and says, well, that may work. And they asked him, how do you want to die? So I want to lie back looking toward heaven. Again, the blade stopped an inch from his throat. And he was set free. Divine intervention. The engineer said, well, 2 out of 3, the odds are kind of in my favor. So he said, I also want to die looking up toward heaven. He leans back. The blade stops him. He leans back and looks up and says, oh, I see the problem. All right. Marking that one off my list to tell, but... So just real quick about me, because I don't talk about me today. I'm actually director of information security at Temple Inland now, no longer a senior analyst. Our company is about to be bought out by another company, so I'm kind of made lieutenant of a sinking ship. So Heavily involved in OWASP and ISSA. I was previously a pen tester. Still love pen testing. It's my heart. It's what I like doing. Father of 3, husband 15 years. On some level, all my kids are hackers. And my first computer, this is always a good question to ask people, is a TI-994A. You know how was your first computer? Anybody else? Very cool. Very cool. Guess over the age of 45 too, or around that age. My favorite quote, my girls are actually really going to enjoy this one. When it comes to havoc, nobody reeks like me. That's from that's a good quote. That's kind of funny. So my daughter, raise your hand, Rebecca. When she was 6, did this for me for it was for a security awareness class. I asked her to write a bad guy, a cyber bad guy, a bad hacker. This is what she did. When she was 6. Notice the downward sloping eyebrows and the goatee? Perfect. I think he's using a Windows machine, which is kind of inaccurate. Okay, so first of all, don't you hate it when presenters define everything for you, right? How many people are fairly seasoned as security people and, so how many went to the Armitage training yesterday? Anybody besides myself? Good training, huh? Really good, yeah. So anyway, yeah, we hate that. So I want to talk about social engineering and what is it? I'm going to define a little bit what it is. So, and I want to make sure we understand here that when I talk about the technical part, we're not really talking about true social engineering, okay? We're kind of pushing the definition there, but we're going to deal with that in a minute. So it's what? It's actually obtaining access, information through deceptive means. Although it's not as deceptive. I mean, when you talk to your wife and you compliment her, you ask her to go on a date, that's social engineering in a way, right? You're selling yourself. You're trying to, maneuver into a position where you look better to that person. Not always deceptive, but in this case we're talking about attackers and targeted attacks. So we're playing the part of the bad guy here. And human beings are always the weak link. It's the layer 8, right, on the OSI model. Now this, I put this in because as much as I harp on people not clicking on links, and one day I was sitting at my desk early in the morning, bleary-eyed, I got an email. A very angry person wanting the payment for the jet ski I bought from him on eBay. I'm like, what? So look at the email. He's threatening legal action. He's contacted the eBay to report me as being a bad buyer or whatever. He provides the email link. I click on it. eBay comes up. I start to type my name and password in. I looked at the URL. ebay.com.ru. So even a security person, we all have times when we're all like more susceptible to these types of attacks. So don't get too cocky and think you'll never fall for it, because you never know. You never know. So what I'm going to do here, because I'm going to talk about a tool called the Social Engineering Toolkit, and rather than call this social engineering and that something else, I'm going to call this one classical social engineering. The original true social engineering when it's interpersonal, right? It's talking about, think about the serpent and Eve, right? I mean, it's old, right? Since man has been around. Grifting, the con, we call it meatware versus wetware versus the hardware and software testing. We're working with people here. You've seen The Sting, right? Have you watched Leverage besides me? I mean, come on, it's a great show, isn't it? It's fun. It's not very technically accurate, but it's kind of fun. And that one episode of MacGyver, where he wore the white suit, remember that one? That was a good one. So yeah, I mean, that's what it classically is. And of course, The Sting, that's a classic movie about con artists. Now, technical social engineering is not interpersonal. We're dealing actually with attacks against a person, and we're working against their behavior as a person. We're working against human behavior here, but we're not actually interacting them on any kind of level at all. So talking about here like phishing and email-related scams, website spoofing, wireless network spoofing, USB device attacks or client-side attacks, requiring usually some kind of user interaction, right? We want them to click the link, open the attachment, plug that USB device into their system. That's my current system, by the way. So there's some advantages of this type of attack. You can shoot a large volume of victims, right? And we're talking about targeted rather than just simply spamming everyone on the planet. because that's not really targeted attack. That's people wanting you to buy their Rogaine or maybe become part of their botnet, but they're not really after your company. They're just sort of, you just happen to be in the way. And most spam filters block those anyway, right? But targeted attacks. So, read that book? There was a story in the beginning of it talking about, in December 2006, Ali Yanin, he was the attacker. He sent out 3.4 million emails, right? 11,000 bank accounts were compromised. Now, 3.3%. Now, on most of our success meters, that's not very good. But think about this for a minute. How much effort did it take to send out 3.4 million emails? What did it take him to do that? Well, he needed to get the list, sure. But for little effort, he compromised 11,000 bank accounts. So you'll need a really high rate of return on this kind of attack to make it successful. The primary goal is to get them to click, or open, or insert the drive, or whatever. Some of the technical challenges we have with this type of attack, they can be complex and time-consuming. I can remember as a pen tester when I was asked to do this kind of testing, I actually kind of regretted it. I dreaded it, right? Anybody been there before? How many pen testers do we have here? Anybody pen testers? How many of you have been asked to do SEA attacks? Anybody? Your first one is kind of like, okay, then how to pull this off? What do I need to do? I got to spoof a website. I've got to do all this stuff. I've got to email, and you're actually moving at that point from being this geeky guy behind the computer who's launching Metasploit attacks against systems to that person who has to actually send something to somebody, right? You have to actually in some way reach out to a person and figure out how to do it where it's effective, and that's part of the problem. You've got to prepare the mechanisms, the exploits. Phishing emails and sites have to be believable, right? They've got to pass by antivirus controls. If you spend all day forming an email with a really good payload, it's not going to do any good if it never gets past the antivirus, right? So these are challenges. And by the way, I have some demos in just a little bit, and if they work. Live demos, right? Big no-no. Last time I did this talk, my computer crashed because I had so much resources allocated to my virtual machines. I forgot about my host machine, and it crashed. And while I'm rebooting, I'm asking for questions. Nobody says a word. And then 5 minutes after, I say, okay, let's get started. Oh, I have a question. I was like, no. So if it crashes, that's when you ask questions, not right after. Not predicting anything, but you don't know. So here's a big challenge, right? So we've got a company that wants to know how effective we are at dealing with these types of attacks, phishing attacks. How do you measure this? Because we can't even measure the technical stuff very well. We can't measure very well how we do with antivirus software and that kind of thing. How do you measure, based on human behavior, how well your people do? Well, I think the best way is to do this frequently. And to simply just pull your data together and see if there's any trends. But even then, we're talking about human behavior here. The likelihood of clicking a link, it really depends on a lot of things. The morning I clicked on that link, right? Maybe I wouldn't have done that later in the day when I was more rested. Maybe if it hadn't been eBay, I wouldn't have clicked it. There's a lot of factors here. People are a little bit, complex, right? So, for example, are people less likely to click a link because of their mood? They're grumpy. Are they going to click it more or less? Time of day, this is a good one. Are new employees more likely to click fake corporate links than seasoned employees? I think they are. They're there, they're new to the company. Every email is important from the company, right? Ooh, a picnic. I'm the point now, everything comes from corporate, like delete. And then I get in trouble for it later if it's something important. Which bait works? In other words, what type of, what are you using to pull them in, right? Is it some fake product which you would not use probably for targeted attacks? Or is it like an email that says, hey, check out our new changes to the corporate website. Click the link and check it out and log in. And despite all the variables, it's still worth a try. And by the way, if you're gauging on percentage-wise, let's say you send out like 100 emails, and let's say 90% actually click the link, which is not unusual, really. That's pretty bad. But, you know, I talked to people at another conference where they were getting results of like 150, 230%. So why do you think we have a percentage greater than 100? Did I guess? Forwarding it. And what else? Some just kept clicking it. Which I think is funny. But imagine this, you're a pen tester. You've been contracted to pen test these people, this company, right? You have a get-out-of-jail-free card for this group, this network, these people, and they forward it to their aunts. And suddenly you're hacking into their aunt's computer. I mean, you can imagine the legal ramifications of that. I mean, it's kind of scary. But, yeah, you can do better than 100%. So maybe, for example, in your workday, maybe when you first come in, you're more susceptible to phishing attacks. You get some coffee, right? You get kind of chilled out. You're less susceptible. You have too much coffee, right? You're too jittery, and you're clicking everything. And then maybe that calms down. You get some food. You feel better. And then you get the afternoon. You had too much to eat. You're sleepy. You're groggy. So maybe that's what it looks like. I haven't done studies on this exactly. I'd be very curious about things like this, about studies like this. So personal experience. When I was first asked to do a social engineering type of attack or phishing attack, sorry. You hear that, Aaron? I need to turn my, the salesperson. I'm not supposed to do that on a cell phone. So, well, I had to build everything from the ground up. The tools I want to talk about in a minute weren't available at the time. It took a lot of time. For example, I had to create a fake company website for them to log into. And even when I did like the usual way of doing it, downloading their site, I found out something. How many of you web developers here? Anybody web developer? Raise your hand, really high. I have a secret for you. Really? You hear this? Lean in closely. Okay, ready? If you render a web page in Firefox and it looks great, it might not look great in IE. I spent all day on this site getting it looking perfect. A new corporate portal, looked new, had new features. Looked great in Firefox. Last minute I tested it in IE. The graphics were all screwed up. Everything's moved around. So things like that. That might help you in your career as a web developer if you knew that. I built a PHP authentication harvester so in the back end so I could collect all the usernames and passwords. And we sent an email out, and I think it did about 70% of people that clicked on the email and followed through with it. Here's something funny, a couple things. One about that attack is that the last two entries in the text file I got back, username and password, was your mama stinks. And then it just went downhill from there. The IT group figured I was doing it and were just messing with me the rest of the day. So we also left out USB thumb drives. Only one of those actually worked. The thing about that is I had 12 of them I left out. I got all 12 back both times. It was amazing. I thought I was going to lose most of them, but got them all back. Also, the HR director of this company, we wanted to get them involved in supporting this awareness class we were going to do. And he was really on board with it. I don't think we need that. So we did the attack. We got, like I said, about 70% of people responded back. So we walked into his office and he said, yeah, I clicked the link. And he said, I guess we need that class after all, maybe. And as we walked out, he asked me, how many people got hit? How many people clicked it? I said, just one. I kept walking close the door. Yeah. So, the thing is, though, is I spent a lot of time on this, but not much time was spent on actual penetration testing because I was too busy setting this up. So you're time boxed, you're busy, you need some help, I think, from tools to help you do this kind of thing much more quickly. I wish I had written that. I apologize for that title. Yeah, just skip that. The time box, you spend more time on setting it up than you do actually doing the test. You got a lot of unknowns and variables, right? I mean, you don't know how you set it up might actually even work in their environment. You spend time building fake sites when you should be doing it on pen testing and other things. So a couple tools I want to mention, not very at length, but this tool, how many have used Maltego before? Isn't that a great tool? What this does is it basically goes out and based on a domain name or a lot of different factors, an IP address range, it goes out and scours the internet for information for you about this entity. If it's a domain name, it'll find websites, it'll find email addresses under those sites, it'll find documents. It's really good for finding email addresses to do, for example, a phishing attack. If you're doing this cold, they're not going to give you information. You can use this, at least some usually upper level email addresses. Some pretty big people at the company. They should not be. That's something else too. You can tell them, hey, your email address should not be discoverable this way. So anyway, yeah, you find all kinds of documents, everything there. You can also use it for other investigative purposes. If you're a salesperson, for example, you could find out more about your potential client by using this tool. It's legal. It's all public stuff. So. Everything's discoverable, doesn't cross that fuzzy road line the legal line that we cross when we have to get permission. Doesn't do that. And it's available in both limited editions and a full commercial edition. There's a screen capture of it. See, I did one domain name there and found all this information about it. It's fun to play with, even with the free edition, it's fun to play with. Okay, this is what I'll talk about the most here today. It's going to be a surface level because there's a lot of things in the tool that I'd like to talk about, but we just don't have the time. I don't know actually what it is. Okay. So the social engineering toolkit was developed by David Kennedy. This is the only photograph I could find of him. Anybody met David Kennedy before? Big guy, really nice guy. He'll give you a hug. He will. Just come on, hug. He also wrote the new book, the new Metasploit book too, that's really popular now, that has been out for a while. He provides a whole suite of tools that make this type of pen testing much easier. It uses Metasploit on the back end, and it works nicely in the Backtrack 5 environment. It's already set up in there for you. You can download it aside from that and use it, but it works best in this environment. It's not the only way to do these tests, though. It's one tool. It's a good tool, but if you want to be flexible and do things a little more creatively, you might actually have to use something else for your social engineering testing. But it's a good tool, and it's very much a standard these days. Here is the main menu, and I won't talk about this much, except that we have, for example, we can do spear phishing attacks. I'll show you the website attacks in a moment. Infectious media, you can create executables to put on your thumb drives and your, even CD-ROMs to leave around your client's area. Creating payloads and listeners, mass mailers. We'll talk about the TNC USB device in a moment. You can create an access point, kind of like a honeypot, and attract people to come to it and connect to it. That's kind of fun. And everything else is sort of like, maintenance type stuff, updating and such. If there are any questions, by the way, go ahead and just... Question? Yeah, very much so. It basically set up a fake access point, and then you can dissociate people from their access points, and yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. There are certain things you can do in this without Metasploit in this tool, but the majority of them, I think, require Metasploit to be running, so. The config file is kind of interesting and important because, for example, if you use auto-detect on this tool in the config file, it'll use whatever IP you're using as what the victim is going to call back to, right? So if you're using, for example, some kind of NATed network and you have a system somewhere else, or if the IP is different, you want to actually turn this off, and you can set the IP up where you want the actual victim to connect back to on the reverse connection. What port's listening on, it's kind of important. And there's some other settings that are kind of important in there as well. There's a new, I'll talk about in a minute, there's a new setting for the Java applet attack that allows you to change information on the actual certificate. It's brand new. I mean, I think as of last week, it just came out. So those settings are in there as well. I think I was just there, wasn't I? Yeah. So there's a spear phishing attack vector. I don't have a set to demo this, but you can use it to generate mass media emails and payloads and listeners as well. You can base your email list on a list of victims, or you can also use a predefined email template. So if you want to craft an email that looks like a corporate email or something special with graphics and such, you can actually create all that ahead of time and use that as your template for it, and reuse it again later if you need to. All right, so we're talking about some of the website attacks. This is the most interesting, I think. Oops. So basic tools you're going to find in SET are the website cloner. You're going to use that a lot. It'll actually go out and clone a website for you as part of it. It's like a wizard almost you're going through. You just point it to an external site, and it'll find it, clone it. Does a very good job. I really encourage people to go after the corporate portal if you're doing a pen test. Inevitably, there's always this website that people go to. One of them had a site you went to that gave them access to their webmail, to their SharePoint stuff, to their Citrix client. It was all there on one nicely packaged little login, right? So you go there and you're there. That was the fun one to go after, because you got access to all that stuff. I'll show you some things with Gmail and stuff, but doing that doesn't do a lot of good on a corporate pen test. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to be hacking at people's Gmail accounts and stuff, but yeah, I think it's out of scope, in other words. You can also import, you can also do there's templates available already there. For example, there's a Gmail and Facebook, just for example. One thing I like about SET is that if I want to show somebody what for example, a tab nabbing attack looks like, it's a great tool to use to demonstrate these things. So hopefully I'll be able to do that in a minute if my demos work. And you can also import sites from local files and do it that way as well. Let's talk about the Java Web Applet attack. Most operating systems run Java or can run Java, right? This attack will work on pretty much any of them. It's not based on a vulnerability. There's nothing wrong with Java there. It's based on trust. You get the user to agree that the certificate is good, it's going to run the applet, right? So you're not trying to get them, you're not based on some weakness or something. It's just the way the thing works. So I mentioned about the certificate. And let me show you. Okay, here's where it gets dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I don't hear it running. Any questions? See, you guys are just lame. Sorry? That wasn't a question, that was a statement, Kevin. Oh, can you see Siri? I don't know. Oh, you mean in here? Or just want to use it for this? Oh, okay. You want to fake Siri and, yeah, give that information? All right. Sorry about this. All right, so I'm on the wrong menu here. Okay. So what I've done here is I've got a SET session open here, and I have a victim running on this one. My Windows 9 or Windows 7 virtual machine died last night, so I have to use XP. It does work on XP, though, believe it or not. So, like, it's an easy target. What are you going to have XP for? So I'm going to go ahead and choose up the menu, the social engineering attacks, and I'm going to go down to website attacks, and now to the Java applet attack method. It's going to ask me what I want to do. Let's do a site cloner here. You got a site you want to try? An external site? Anything? Anybody? See, you're going to give me one and we'll break it, I'm sure, but... Sorry? What was that? Whitehats.gov? White House. Okay. I found out the hard when I was. You remember everybody Hotbot, the search engine. Remember that? I was zooming over that at Dell one time, and I was showing. It's like new employees showing them how to use the search engine, and I put in Hotbox by mistake. Big mistake. Fortunately, I was standing in front of the projector. It was actually projecting on my belly here, and I quickly grabbed the mouse, and yeah, it was, yeah. Little typos can mean a lot here. Okay, so let's see. Let me put the microphone down for a second. Get a call from the Secret Service. You let me do that one. All right, well, let's try another one. All right. I wonder why it didn't let me do that. I wonder if there's some sort of, I don't know, header information on the site that says, do not clone. What happened? Oh, shoot. Let's try this. So this is why you don't do demos. This is why you don't do demos. My mother told me not to do demos, and I did them anyway. Is there an error here somewhere? Okay, this happens sometimes. Sorry about this. Any question? Alright, I'm going to try a template here and just use email. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to pick a payload here. I'm just going to use reverse interpreter, and I'm going to pick a way of encoding it. Using the default here. Port of listener is 443. That's good. And so backdoor it. While that's going on, find my key address here, and I'm going to bring my victim ready here. Do 16 ones. See where we're at on this. So backdooring. Takes a while to do that part. All the encoding and stuff. So 172. Yeah, I'm making videos next time. It's just ridiculous. They'll fail. They'll crash the system or something, but it'll be a step closer, I think. 4. Make sure that's finished loading. Well, 92. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. I was testing you. You passed. I'm going to come back here, Kevin. Let's smack you. All right. Okay, 162, 168, 12, 134, and looking for 162. No questions, huh? It's perfect time, guys. Perfect time. Yeah, I believe so. I've never done that. But that's that question. Carl? I did a screen capture so I can show you. This doesn't work.
So what do you do if that's a wrong code?
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for the catch on that. Ah, okay, 152, 16 to 160. You guys paid all this money for conference to come watch me type. Two dot one. Okay, all right. Sorry about this, guys. So that's how Apache works. I think actually it was different. All right, I'm gonna. I'll move on and come back to this in a minute. Sorry? 8081. That's the listener, though. That's not the one that's not the port that's actually running on. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. Sorry about that.
I'll come back. Let me get through the slides, then we'll come back and see if we can get the demos working. How about that? Good plan? All right. Yes. You don't have a question? Yeah. Here's a picture of working. All right? So the user gets this popping up on the screen, and they just click run. And the listener responds to it, and you get a shell in their system. Works every time I tried except for today. Well, it works when I had it working in a demo, so. Now, what they've done, though, to change this is they've actually allowed you to change this information to say it's whatever you want. Oh. So you can actually say, it's authorized by Microsoft or Java or something like that. It'll actually come up and say that. The guy who wrote this, David Kennedy, he actually sought legal advice about that before he did it, because they make sure it was okay to do. So he talked to the EFF and stuff. So, okay, credential harvesting. This is another kind of basic attack where you set up a fake site with a fake login, and you allow you draw people in with emails to log into it, and you can collect harvest information about their logins. It also provides you and set an HTML report of results, which is kind of cool for pen testing. All right, it gives you a report to include. It has templates for Facebook and such, but again, I would really hit, find out what their corporate portal is, find out where their crown jewels are kept on the web side, and go after that one. Now, this is my favorite attack, right? And I don't know why I like it. It's not that useful, honestly. It's about 3 years old, I think. But I like it because it really, whoever thought this up really thought about human behavior, right? They really thought about how people think when they browse the web. And so I really like this one. It's the only attack I know that involves misdirection. And I don't mean misdirection of packets, I mean physical, human, visual misdirection. Look over here, and then something else happens over there. It works best against users who have a lot of tabs open at one time. I'm going to try to show you this as well. So here's what happens. The user opens the email. They click the link, and normally the page opens up and they're greeted with whatever type of attack you're trying to get across, whether it's a harvest their credentials or something. And so there's this mental connection between the link that was clicked and the site that came up, right? So there's a little bit of time for suspicion there, right? They think, okay, click the link and this is the site. The link looks a little odd. The site looks a little odd. Maybe I shouldn't log in here, right? This is what happens in tab nabbing. The user clicks the link, the site opens the page, and they're greeted with a message that says, page loading, please wait. And that remains indefinitely there. Until one of two things happens. They either close the page, which defeats the attack, or, like me, who has a lot of tabs open, they go to another tab to look at something else for a while. So they click the link, it says page loading, and they say, forget this, I'm going to go to Gmail for a while. When they go to the other tab, when that tab loses focus, it then loads whatever you're sending them. So you could send them a Viagra ad, right, in an email or something like that, and when they click the link, page loading, please wait, they go to some other tab, and meantime, their corporate portal opens up in that site. So the email doesn't even have to reflect with the actual content of the site's opening up. There's a disconnect. There's a time disconnect, there's an activity disconnect, what the user's doing. So I think there's a lot of variables that could go wrong here with this kind of attack and pen test. But I'm really, really impressed with it. Because somebody thought, okay, a user uses a browser, they may want to wander through their tabs. They thought about human behavior a little bit more with this attack. So I'm really I'm intrigued by it, but at the same time, I don't know how practical it is. Anybody used this in an attack before? Anybody used tab nabbing before? Anybody? What was your experience with it? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's something behind the browser running that, yeah. So it's very intriguing. I'll see if I can show it to you in just a moment. The set infectious media generator, you can actually generate the executables for a USB drive, a thumb drive, CD-ROM drive to leave around. Works with Metasploit. The payload listener, you can create your own payloads and listeners, and we use this all the time when we're doing these other attacks as well. But you can do this just for basically, you want to do something else besides what's available in the menus, you can create this and use it in something else that you're working with. It's more flexible that way. Mass mailer, it's part of the spear phishing attack set, and basically it's just a tool to use to send mass emails out, whatever they are. Okay, the Tinsy. This is something that's included in set. What this is a microcontroller that's USB based, and I actually have one here somewhere. Oh, it's over there. Sorry. It's a very small device. I've got this one on a breadboard. I've got one at home somewhere that doesn't have the pins on it that you can just connect to an adapter. Now, what this is, it's a development board, and you can program it to do anything you want, pretty much. You can put servo motors on it, LEDs, all kinds of projects. I think it's a cool board for that. But it's USB based. What you can also do with it, it's important here, is you can emulate a keyboard. So when you plug it in, it gets power, it starts sending keystrokes, right, as if it were a keyboard, typing on its own. Now this device here, unfortunately, I don't have programmed. The one I have at home somewhere that I couldn't find, that's the one that's set up. But I do have something similar on this one. And again, I'll use this power to start running the program. They're fairly inexpensive. They're about $16. And let me just bring up a notepad here. This is kind of pathetic, really, what I did with it. Plug it in, and it's going to eventually come up with a message. It's going to type it. But you can do, for example, control keys. You can do escape, any combination of keys on your keyboard. 10 minutes? Okay. Yeah, welcome to LASCON. Not too impressive, but. So this can be used to this can be used to run commands on someone's computer when they plug it in. So, for example, you want them to go to a website. You simply have them ring up the run line, type in the IE Explorer with the URL, and they can go to the site that has the payload you want to deliver to them. Right? You can kind of by plugging it in. The downside of this one is that it's a little expensive. You don't want to leave hundreds of these laying around parking lots, right? They're kind of pricey. Let me go back here again. That's some of the code I was using. Antivirus has nothing to detect. There's nothing, I have no actual code running on the system, so there's no antivirus or malware. You can use commands. You can open command prompt. You can launch web browsers. You can now some new things have been done with this. You can solder a micro SD card to it, and you can deliver larger payloads because the memory is limited. You can actually run things to the hard drive. You can run things in memory much larger. So a lot of the attacks that would require more space, more memory, you can pull off of this now. Downsides, it's really slow. You know, it's very slow. It's kind of noisy. When you plug it in, you see things happening on your screen. It's going to be easy to see that. And you need to put delays in because when you're trying to program it and get something on it, you plug it in to program it and it starts typing in your IDE screen. So you need to watch that. But it's included as part of the set. You can create payloads with it in set. So delivering this, I thought of also, I've got this little USB snowman, right? Well, send it to your client as like a thank you gift for working with, and don't put your, put Intel or something on it, right? And and you can actually wire it inside and wait for someone to plug it in, and watch your system light up with activity there. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm probably sure they are, but I'm not sure if I'm familiar with those kinds of words though. But yeah, it's very similar, I'm sure. That's an SMS attack spoofer. I haven't really used this much at all because the third-party SMS relaying solutions are usually fee-based and they're kind of clunky and don't work. But you can actually spoof SMS messages as well. And I mentioned the attack vector for the access point as well. There's another service you can use called fishme.com if you want to do fee-based social engineering attacks on your network. You can set it up with them and they'll automate that for you. And of course, the other wireless one is the Pineapple. So let me just real quick. I got 5 minutes left. Yeah, it's true. The Pony Express devices that you can plug in. I don't really look at those as social engineering attack, but they're great tool. All right, I'm going to try this real quick here, at least one of them, so this talk is not a complete failure. Any questions? That never works, does it? All right. So let's go here with the, first of all, let's make sure, put this down.
I'm going to walk this one more time here. Sorry? Well, it's listening. It's not, the web server's not running on that. It's listening on that for the client to call back on. But, let's try it one more time here. Let's see, I'm going to go to, let's try tab nabbing this time. Cycloner. Okay. Like that. Bear with me one moment here. Tab nabbing, Cycloner. Okay, great. Address. Okay, it's not working properly. Anyway, are there any, sorry about the demos, are there any questions though regarding sets or, yes sir?
Yeah,
I've used Gmail before. Yeah, I've got, yeah, you're right. If you're creating a payload of some sort, it works okay, understanding, but then you start attaching things to it and doing other things, Gmail catches it. I don't know of any free relays out there that you can use, honestly. I mean, most people set their own, which is another cost involved. But anybody know of any free email SMTP relay type things that would work that isn't Gmail? No? Yeah, there used to be a bunch. Like 5 or 6 years ago, you could find a bunch of them online you can use. But now, Gmail is the only free one I know of. And yeah, you're right, it does not work with different types of payloads. It'll catch it. Here. Any questions? All right, thanks for your time. Sorry for the demos. And that wasn't a good job.
I see mine over there.
For sure, thank you. For sure.